The fact that they brought CM Punk back after Punk made it known he was done with that business shows that windows never totally closed. I probably was punching like The Rock. I was probably kicking like him. I probably was my mannerisms just because I had watched him and looked up to him for so long. But Shawn, you know, he wanted me to be my own person. This was a big spot. Like, I mean, and I've brought it up to people before. What if I miss? You know, what if I don't hit him? His back's turned. You know, what if I mess it up? If one of these deals goes through, it could change the collectibles industry in professional wrestling as we know it.
Welcome to the first edition of Path and Perspective. I am your host, Daniel, and joining me today is the co-winner of the first season of Tough Enough. Yeah. He is a YouTube content creator with nearly 300,000 subscribers. And in case you don't know, from 2001 through 2005, he had the opportunity of being a WWE superstar. Maven, welcome.
It's good to be here, Daniel. It's still surreal for me to hear that I'm a YouTuber. Like that hasn't like I don't know. It's just still crazy to think of because I don't consider myself an influencer at all.
Was that something that you always wanted to? No, really,
not at all. It was literally something that I thought I missed, and because I always said if everything that's out now, the Twitters, the TikToks, the Instagrams, the YouTube, if all that stuff was out about 10 years earlier, I was like, I would have been one of the first to take hold. Like if Twitter would have been out during my time, I mean, because I was riding with Randy Orton, I'd have been filming nonstop. And I always considered that I missed out, but that's just the way it is. I also can look at it this way. I was involved in the last generation where you didn't have everyone filming you everywhere you went. And there's something good about that. But the fact that literally the fact that I landed on this and have found success, it's just the dumbest luck ever.
Well, I want to ask you this. So, I mean, aside from YouTube, what's been going on in your life?
Oh, gosh. Well, I still have my regular, like a lot of people think that I got done with I got YouTube and, starting to make a little bit of money on this, and I don't have a regular job. Could not be further from the truth. If anything, my, I have I'm partners with in New York City on Wall Street. We have a capital firm. And if anything, it's increased my workload. Because now everybody that used to hit me up on LinkedIn, for work, now they're partly hitting me up because of wrestling, but it's increased the amount of visibility I have, which in turn has helped my weekly work, which I'm still taking the train into the city every day, still walking around the city. It's funny though, because yesterday I was walking, from the through the little like train area, and a guy looked over at me, and I could tell he recognized me from wrestling, and he just gave me a nod, and I just nodded back.
So you've been wearing a lot of hats for, my gosh, 20, 25 years, a WWE superstar, working on Wall Street, YouTube star. And I want to talk to you briefly about your
HSN. I have my own show, R&B show on BET. I was on the Surreal Life. That's one thing I have. I've wore a lot of hats.
And along with that, I mean, you were also a 6th grade middle school teacher. Was that a career that, you wanted to always work in?
I don't want to know. I don't necessarily would say always. I was one of those, school kids that I remember the teachers in my life that really made a difference. I had a Spanish teacher, Mrs. Kaiser, and to this day, I can't speak a lick of Spanish, but I always knew that Mrs. Kaiser, she cared about me, the person, not Maven, the Spanish speaker. And she made such a difference. And when I got, into college, and I declared a history major, I was a double major, history and political science. And, you know, for a while I thought maybe I'll go into politics. And then I was just like, there's too much. Well, I have no desire to be standing and, you know, for some candidate, because you have to start at the ground floor. I was like, I have no desire to be standing and telling how great a candidate is that I probably don't believe in. So politics can go. But then the next step was teaching. And I love kids. I've always, you know, thought, you know, that I can get through to kids pretty well. And when I graduated college, I moved out to Portland, Oregon, and a buddy of mine was teaching in a middle school. I went into school. Different world now, because back then I could just literally go into school with him. But I would go in and I would tutor some of his kids, and his vice principal said that we have a 6th grade position open next year, and I asked if I would want it. And I was like, I'm not licensed, but they found a way around it, and I loved it. I'll tell you, if teachers made good money, I would have never dreamed of leaving. I loved it. In fact, I loved it so much. My first year, I was a teacher and a high school baseball coach. And the second year, the year that I went in Tough Enough, I was going to be done with coaching, and I was strictly going to teach. I was going to focus all my attention on teaching.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. I enjoyed the teaching aspect way more than the coaching aspect of it.
So why did you make the decision to leave teaching to pursue a career in professional wrestling?
It's one of those things that, like, I knew a second opportunity wasn't going to come around. And when you get literally a life-changing, you know, something placed at your feet, you have to decide, is this, it wasn't like I could do it. Yeah, let me teach one more year, then I'll try the wrestling thing. This was the opportunity that I knew I had to grab. But then again, I went to the Tough Enough auditions thinking, this will be a fun weekend in New York. I'd never been to New York. This is my excuse to take a trip, see New York. And of course they're not going to pick me. And when they did, then I had a decision. I was like, wow, I got to go back and literally quit my job. And luckily, man, I had a school district and a principal who just, yeah, they didn't want to see me go, but they also understood that I think the best lesson I could leave my 6th graders with was it's always a good thing to follow your dreams. So that's what I did. And it's funny because now those 6th graders now are in their 30s, and occasionally they'll comment on the videos, and that just shows me how old I am.
I mean, I don't want to make you too old, Maven, but I wasn't even alive when Tough Enough was like.
Yeah, I know. What year were you born?
2002. So I was not alive during the Rumble Taker
that
spot.
Means you remember no part of my career at all.
Yeah. I mean,
that's nuts.
So I'm sorry if I'm making you feel a little too old.
That's okay. I embrace age. Like, listen, age is something that everybody wants. Everybody wants to get old. No one doesn't want to see a full life. Mm-hmm. Why am I gonna? I've had a great life. I'm not the guy who thinks I've missed out on anything. I have been blessed. The good Lord above, for whatever reason, has blessed me. I think he's blessed me right down the middle. I've seen enough of the negative parts of life to be able to appreciate, when something positive comes my way.
In regards to, you leaving teaching to, go into Tough Enough, I mean, you're selected as one of the 13 participants for the first season of WWF at the time, reality competition show Tough Enough, where the 2 winners of that season will win a WWF contract. Look, during your time on the show, there were several WWF superstars that made guest appearances. You had the Hardy Boys, you had Lita, you had Kurt Angle, you had Taz. But out of all of them, in my humble opinion, there was one specific guest that made a memorable appearance.
Yeah, Hunter. And a few people quit after his you're 100% right. His visit, because everything, and I wouldn't come to find this out until years later, but everything he said to us was dead on, 100% accurate. Yeah. Every word of what he said. And I mean, it just shows everybody sees the glitz and the glamour and the, you know, just the positive side of what it becomes, what it takes to be a superstar, you know, in the World Wrestling Federation at the time. What they don't see is the birthday parties from your kids you miss, or the weddings of family members you miss, or the holidays that you're not at home, or all the hours spent in an airplane or on the road in a rental car or in a hotel. I refuse to take vacations now. Utterly refuse. And that's because my life for the longest time was one big vacation. I don't need to eat in a restaurant anymore. I don't need to stay in a hotel. I'm perfectly fine. I'm perfectly fine in my bedroom next door and in my own bed every night.
300 days a year on the road. That's insane. I don't know how, because, you know, I'm just a kid. I'm 21 years old. I cannot imagine being on the road 300 days a year, performing, training, going to sleep, and doing it all over and over again while, you know, you're adding a lot of wear and tear on your body. That's crazy.
It's nuts. And you hit the nail on the head. It's a lot of stuff that people take for granted when they're in their own house. You know, you take for granted being able to cook a meal or sleep in your bed or take a shower in your own shower, go to your gym, do all that stuff. Because when you're on the road, you have to find, you know, alternative places to do all these things. And, you know, I mean, what if you're on the road? And there was a couple times when because me and Randy, we were crazy. There would be a couple times we would arrive in cities and there would be no hotels. I remember one night we literally, because we stayed up partying in the town and we drove to the next town the next day, and we literally we went to like 6 hotels and they were sold out. So we literally put the seats back in the car and got like 6 hours of sleep in the car before going to the arena. That's all stuff you have to, you just, it's just part of it's baked into the cake. It's part of what you sign up for. Yeah.
And, you know, you mentioned earlier when Triple H made his appearance on Tough Enough, a lot of the things he said was true. You know, one quote that I remember was, you know, when you get into the ring, you know, you tell, you know, your story through your body. And that's one quote that I remember him mentioning. And along with that, he ordered every one of you guys to go into the ring and take a bump. And my question is, what was it like working with Triple H that day? It had to be very intimidating.
Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Because, I mean, you know, we're in the ring with, you know, one of the best that's ever done it. And like, and I wouldn't, you know, I know now what he was looking at, because I'll go to wrestling schools and I'll see kids take bumps. And I know exactly when I see somebody take a bump and I'm like, okay, they have it. Yeah. You know, they know what they're doing. And now I know what to look for. So I know exactly what he was doing. I know exactly what he was looking for while we did it. But when, I mean, this is, you know, he's one of the best to ever do it. It was truly terrifying when he had us out there. But again, that's the one person that I took the most from their visit.
You were on Tough Enough for several weeks, and you know, when it came down to, well, it wasn't down to you and Nidia because you both were co-winners, but when you and Nidia won Tough Enough, you had a crazy rookie year. You were working with legends from The Undertaker, who I'm going to get into real quick, Triple H, The Rock, and you name it. I can only imagine what it was like being there, working with these people. What was it like?
It's the most surreal experience to know that a year prior to that, I was a school teacher and watching these, you know, superstars on a weekly basis. And it just goes to show, though, how much your life can change over a year's time. You know, because I still remember I went to a show, a SmackDown taping in Tacoma, Washington. And a year later, I was on SmackDown. And it's weird to think that I went from being in the audience to being one of the performers.
It's crazy how life just works in so many ways. And
it is.
I mean, it gets even more crazier because come January of 2002, it's the Royal Rumble. It's the Phillips Arena. It's Atlanta, Georgia. You are entrant number 11. It's you and The Undertaker. Right. The Undertaker's attacking the Hardy Boys. He's eliminating them.
And Lita.
Dump them over the top rope. And then as he's taunting, as he's looking at them to tell him to get out of the ring, here comes Maven, drop kicking the Undertaker and eliminating him. And JR has one of his best calls, in my opinion. Having that opportunity, what was it like working with Undertaker? Because he was the one who created the spot, right?
Well, him and Shane came up with the spot. I mean, the writing team technically came up with it, but that spot doesn't go through without Taker's approval.
Yeah.
And then just getting to the arena earlier that day to go over the spot, I still remember his graciousness. And I think one of the reasons I try to be the way I am, especially to young and aspiring, is because I remember what was bestowed upon me when I was in that position. I remember I would not be sitting here talking to you right now if not for the graciousness of Taker. And just obviously I'm grateful, but I got to I remember I flew out of Cincinnati that morning, and I was thinking, because I didn't know, I was like, they'll have me probably in the Rumble, they'll have me come out and immediately get thrown out, and that'd be the end of it. Easy. And just having my world just changed in a night, because I knew once they told me, this is what you're doing, I knew immediately this was a big spot. Like, I mean, and I've brought it up to people before. What if I miss? What if I don't hit him? His back's turned. What if I mess it up? I'm not starting a wrestling match with him. I'm not eliminating him, another way. I'm not clotheslining Taker over the top rope. What happens? So there was a lot riding on that one spot. And, luckily for me, I was in there with a pro, and anything I had, following that is 100% due to the graciousness of Taker, and just how he understood the business and what it takes, which is you have to build other stars to make yourself an even bigger star.
Absolutely. And he even let you win. Well, I don't want to say he let you win.
No, you're right. You're right.
He let you win he let you win the hardcore title. And not only that, you got to face Chris. You went against Jericho the next night on Raw for the undisputed title. And not only that, you were a part of WrestleMania 18. You entered Mania 18 as the hardcore champion.
Yep.
And then you left as the hardcore champion. Yeah, we're just going to pretend nothing happened in between. I mean, how many people won the title on that? You had Christian, you had Hurricane, Molly Holly, Spike Dudley. I mean, I'll ask you this, what was it like getting the chance to wrestle on, the grandest stage of them all?
It's weird because it was such a big, because it was in the Sky Dome, and I still remember walking out, and it was the longest ramp from the gorilla position to the ring that I had ever seen. And it was just like looking up and seeing a sea of people, and then thinking that if all these, I think it was like 72,000 people are there watching me, then think of all the millions of people at home watching. And it's really weird to think that many eyes are focused on you at one time. And then from that point on, it's just don't trip, get to the ring. Don't have a what would become a viral moment. Get to the ring, try to have a decent match, and just check something off your bucket list. Obviously, everybody that gets into this business, they do it to wrestle in a WrestleMania. And I was honored to be able to be in a Mania.
And I mean, after that, unfortunately, you suffer a broken leg. And then from there, you wrestle on Heat, and then you get drafted over to Raw. And by the end of 2004, you have this main event push. You're working with Triple H, Chris Jericho, Chris Benoit, Randy Orton. You were at one point the GM of Monday Night Raw. So I just want to ask you, was the company pushing you, for bigger things? What was going on around that time?
I believe they were. What happened to that push, I will never know. I'll never get an answer to, or at least an honest answer. I don't know if maybe it was just still too early in my career to get a push like that. I believe if they would have gave me the opportunity to continue. I could have, I think I'll never not think I couldn't have been a main eventer. They never let me focus on the one thing that I had that I was great at, which was my ability to talk. You know, they would give me a little bit of speaking things here and there, but they never handed me the mic and said, go. And I think if they would have, it could have gotten really good. Because obviously my promo ability, would have been my bread and butter.
Yeah.
You know, and forever I will, you know, and it took a while to get over the bitterness of not having that opportunity. But whenever I feel like that, I just sit and think, okay, you had an opportunity to do something that not many people get to do, and you did it for a while. So I'm at the point now. I'm grateful for what I did have. I'm thankful for the time I did spend, and yeah, I got to live out a dream in front of the entire world. And even now, I'm continuing to live it out.
I mean, you know, I also want to mention, you know, when you were the GM of Raw, I don't know if you were competing that night because, oh no, you were competing that night. You were against Triple H for the World Heavyweight title.
I was.
You got to tell me, what was that day like? Especially, you know, you're running the show, and now you're gonna go against the top guy. What was it like that entire day for you?
That day was equally as stressful as the Rumble day. And it's because if you ever watch a Raw, they're broken down into segments. And basically when they come out of commercial break and everything until they go to another commercial break, you might have 1 or 2 segments in that time. Like a backstage, if you have something backstage, that's a segment in itself. And then they might go to a match. Well, that's another segment. And I believe I was in like 11 of the 16 segments that night. I was in pretty much the whole damn show. So then at the very end of the night, after my match with Hunter, Vince is the first person to meet me when I went behind the curtain, and he just shook his head and he stuck his arm out and he was like, you know, hell of a job. You did it. And, you know, I felt relief. Obviously I was happy it was over, but then at that point I was like, okay, I can do this. I was given a tough task and I pulled it off. I did it. And, you know, it didn't come like I didn't mess up anything. So I was just happy as hell it was over and just ecstatic knowing that I was in the right place. It's like, okay, you can do this.
Yeah. And I mean, after, you know, you were the GM, after, you know, you went against Triple H, you turned heel. And what was that like, not only being a heel, but also working with Simon Dean? Because you've never been a heel before this, right?
Well, not up until then I hadn't. That's when I think the true inner character of what I had to give came out. I'm a way better heel than I am a babyface. And I really started having fun. Simon took the time to not only explain what we were doing, but why we were doing it. And, you know, I got to work in tag matches and I got to learn the ins and outs of what you do and why you might put a hot tag in a certain spot. And, you know, because Nova, he had forgotten more wrestling than I could ever hope to learn. So and then we had a cool gimmick. Like, it was funny. We were going out and, I mean, we went out and told Stacy Keibler she was fat, for goodness sakes. Like, how ridiculous is that? And I got to have fun. And once I left that, I wanted to work heel. And still to this day, like, I don't like working babyface. If I'm at a show, I would much prefer working heel just because I can have more fun.
I mean, you were a heel with Simon Dean for, I would say, 7-8 months. And then
probably,
yeah, you know, July of 2005 comes around and you were let go by WWE. My question is, you know, what is life after WWE like for Maven?
It was tough, like, immediately after, because wrestling had become my identity. And it's tough when you feel like you lose that identity. And it took me a while to realize, because everywhere I went, if anyone was meeting me, if anyone was introducing me to a friend, I was always Maven the wrestler, you know, and that's just and I got used to it and I liked it. Yeah. So, you know, knowing that was stripped away from me, it was a tough transition, but I was able and I was fortunate to land, because I think a few months after, I was let go by WWE, I was back in LA filming for the Surreal Life. And then that led to 2 seasons hosting on BET, which led to me being a full-time host on the Home Shopping Network. So I think I was able to get by with that disappointment by filling my time and my purpose with new endeavors.
You work with the Home Shopping Network, you work with BET, and in 2012 you were arrested for doctor shopping, correct?
I was. Yeah, I had been through, oh gosh, a bunch of surgeries up until then, and I'm not going to sit and make excuses about it. I was guilty of what they caught me for. I was addicted to heavy amounts of pain medication at the time, and I was trying to find them wherever I could. So but what sucked about that the most is I enjoyed my job with BET. I mean, with HSN. And that incident alone is what led to me leaving HSN. I'll tell anybody that'll listen, HSN was the best job. WWE was probably the most fun job, but HSN was the best. Like it was because it was easy for me, getting products to go on TV and sell. That was easy. And I really hated losing that gig. It was great money. I was living in Florida, had a nice house on the water. It was a lot to lose. But life's all about, just picking yourself up. And I heard one time, and I think it's accurate, life's, it's not about if you get knocked down. And people always say it's about getting up when you get knocked down. That's incorrect. It's about when you get knocked down, falling forward, learning something from it, trying to just take something from the negative that happens in our lives. It happened, and I find myself, needing to reinvent myself once again. That's how I ended up here in the New York, New Jersey area. And since then, I've worked for Verizon. I've worked for the Brooklyn Nets, and I now, pre-COVID, I landed with this company that I'm with now, that I was able to find a home. The one good thing about my life is I've always been able to reinvent, whether it be good or bad things in my life, just always come up with just new ways and just new forms of what my identity is. I'll never let one thing gauge who I am ever again. I've said it before. If at my funeral, the first thing people bring up is the Undertaker spot, then I will have failed as a human being. And I think I've been able to just constantly reinvent, constantly come up with just better forms and, just better ideas of who I am. Then, it's led to me now having the YouTube channel, which I did not see coming.
I mean, with the YouTube channel, how did this all come about? Because 6, 7, 8 months ago, you had your first YouTube video and it blew up. I think it has 2 million viewers as we speak.
Yeah, something like that. I have a LinkedIn page for work, and a YouTuber, current YouTuber, he hit me up, and he'd always had an idea of, because a lot of wrestlers, they do things differently. And their idea is to make wrestling videos and put them on YouTube. And this guy had the idea. He wanted to make YouTube videos about wrestling and do all the things that successful YouTubers do to, make their videos pop. And we did about 2 months of just research, and I found myself just digging in, learning everything I could about how to make the algorithm work. And then we got together, and he flew in, and we filmed for about 4 days straight every day. And we came up with I think it was like 7 or 8 videos to start with. And that's been our model ever since. He and I will meet every 5 to 7 weeks, and because he's out in South Dakota, and we'll get together. Like, we literally last weekend we were together in Fargo, North Dakota. We got together and we got like 8 videos shot, so, and then the hard part starts, and the editing, and that's on him. I'll let him do all that. But you know, we're always in touch. He's always asking me for pictures or, you know, just whatever. He and we speak many times a day, or we'll text about, you know, potential video ideas, because we're 100% it's 100% of a partnership. You know, there'll be times he'll be like, I think this will make a good video. And I'll be like, I don't think I'm the one to do that video, because the two things I wanted to do when we started, I said, I don't want to tell other people's story, you know, meaning like, let's say there was a fight backstage that didn't have to do with me. I don't want to be the one telling about that fight. It's not my story to tell. But, you know, things that happened on the road or experiences I had that I did take part in, I have no problem sharing those experiences. And that was the first thing. And the second thing, I just wanted to be positive with it. There's enough people out there that just bring negativity to everything, wrestling and anything in life. I wanted to have a channel that was positive. I wanted to give, you know, because our videos go out every Friday at noon. And I wanted it to be one of the best comments I get on our videos is, you know, this video is how I kick my weekend off, or this is how I, you know, spend my lunch break every week. And I love knowing that people look forward to the videos every Friday as a good weekend kickoff. It makes me so happy.
With your YouTube channel, you know, you upload your first video rating WWE superstars. One part in that video where you talked about a certain wrestler where you didn't really have the best experience with them. You guys never really had any issues, and that was Shawn Michaels. What was your experience like working with Shawn? Because you mentioned in that video, you know, you were, you know, he said that you were kind of like imitating The Rock in terms of how you punch, and he wasn't a big fan of the Tough Enough competition. What was your experience like?
That's my feeling. I think he probably, because Shawn came up a different way, and yeah, Shawn was in a tough place having to work with guys like me and other green guys. And Shawn and I were putting a lot of tag matches early in my career, and that's just a tough position for him to be in. So I understand his, you know, I don't want to say anger, because it didn't come across as anger, but just his disapproval. And, you know, in the end, you know, imitation, the most sincere form of flattery, I probably was punching like The Rock. I was probably kicking like him. I probably was my mannerisms, just because I had watched him and looked up to him for so long. But Shawn, you know, he wanted me to be my own person. And he, you know, he didn't want me to be an imitation of somebody. Hell, we already have one of those. So in the end, the advice he was giving me was for my benefit, for, you know, to only make me better. It just, but it just came across a little, you know, just probably not the way I would have, you know, went to somebody. But then again, we're all different. I will never in my life think that I was on the same spectrum as a wrestler that Shawn Michaels was. And as humans, we're all entitled to our opinion. And, you know, but even still, I didn't want it to come across as something negative, as a way of burying Shawn. I was just being honest that he and we probably saw things a little bit different. And I doubt he enjoyed working with me, you know, but then again, I doubt that I've literally, you know, I was released in 2005. I would say it's safe to think that I have not crossed Shawn Michaels' mind since 2005. Not once.
I also want to ask you this as well. Do you feel like these YouTube videos you're putting out, do they bring some kind of closure to you?
If anything, the opposite. And I probably would have went into them thinking they would give closure to what my career was. But in actuality, it's opened up doors to what my career maybe could have been. And I don't know, maybe still could be. Who knows? I get asked all the time if I get called, you know, if I get a call from WWE or AEW, you know, to commentate, you know, I'm 47, my in-ring days are over, but I can still run my mouth. You know, would I listen? And of course I would. Of course. You know, I never turned down, you know, an opportunity. And never backhand a compliment. You know, you heard of backhanded compliments. Well, in retrospect, don't backhand a good compliment. So if someone wants to give me an opportunity, I would definitely hear them out. listen to what they have to say. So when I thought it probably would have done that, just be able to put a nice tidy bow on my career, and it's done the polar opposite. If anything, it's reignited a fire that was, that the only thing left burning was maybe a few embers, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
Right before the COVID-19 pandemic, you were in Florida and you were applying as a commentator for WWE. Now, I know it's been, oh my gosh, it's almost 4 years. Now, 4 years have passed. Do you think that window is still open, or do you think it's completely closed?
Well, the good thing about wrestling is I don't think any windows are ever totally closed, ever. I've seen them bring, the fact that they brought CM Punk back after Punk made it known he was done with that business shows that windows never totally closed. So I don't know. Yeah. Am I actively seeking a job there? No. I mean, but like I said, will I will I answer a call if one is thrown my way? Of course I will. But I have a couple very interesting projects that the channel is making a possibility coming up, and due to just legal reasons, I can't bring them up because deals aren't struck yet. And one of them, if they get done, here's what I will say: if one of these deals goes through, it could change the collectibles industry in professional wrestling as we know it. I'll leave you with that. It'll change it. It's one thing that I can't believe isn't out there. A guy has this idea, and if we get the licensing done, people will look back and think, why didn't someone else do this? It's one of those ideas. It's literally one of those ideas that's like, this was here all along. It's so genius. Why didn't someone else do this? And that said, if we have a deal that if we do it, if we get the licensure, obviously I'll be the one presenting it. It'll go on my channel as well as other avenues that I have familiarity with, and it's one of those ideas that could retire me one day. Yeah,
really,
it's that good. It's that good. Yes.
Wow.
So yeah.
Well, I mean, Maven, I still really appreciate you coming on because at the time of this recording, I have 4 subscribers, and so when I approached, what's up?
How many?
We got 4. We got 4.
Well, you'll have to send me what the channel is. You'll have 5 as of today.
Oh, Maven.
Hold on. Let's find it. Let's find it. Tell me.
All right.
Tell me what it is. I'm gonna do it right here with you on it.
Okay, so I just changed the name this morning, but should still be the same. It's called Path.
Probably not a good idea. Keep one name. What is it?
Path and Perspective. That's the name of my channel.
And Path and Perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing I have up right now is my interview with Leo Rush. So
there we go. I see it. You have
awesome.
You now have a 5th subscriber.
Maven.
There you go, buddy.
Seriously, this really means a lot to me. Now
aim higher.
I'm trying. Hopefully, by the end of May, I get my bachelor's. I already did a TED Talk speech, so I'm trying to aim. Yeah.
How did you get involved with that? I would love to do a TED Talk.
No problem. So my university
would love to do a TED Talk.
Absolutely. So yeah, the thing is, my university, they offered this TED Talk program, and you had to sign up within within a week or 2.
Yeah.
So I was walking around campus. They were promoting on one of the campus TVs, and they said, you want to do a TED Talk? Send your application, 300 words by September 10th.
What was your topic?
Overcoming pressure as a first-generation U.S. born citizen.
Oh wow.
And I applied, and I thought to myself, this is just like your Tough Enough story. I applied thinking I'm not gonna get in. And so a couple days go by, and they said, "Congratulations, Daniel, you're gonna be a TED Talk speaker."
Wow.
And I'm like, "What?" And
then terror takes over.
Oh my gosh! I was one of those kids that had really bad social anxiety. I was a shy kid, and so I told myself, you know what? maybe this isn't for me. But then I told myself, you know what? This might look really nice on my resume. So let me just go ahead and do that. And so, you know,
even more than the resume.
Yeah.
Anytime we see something in life that scares us,
yeah,
and we face it head on. That's all life is. All life is facing things head on. That is it. In the end, life is just what have we been able to overcome, and what are the memories we have along the way. You know, and I guarantee you, when it's all said and done, we're not going to look back and be like, I'm glad I played it safe. We're going to look back and be like, I wish I would have taken this risk. I wish I would have done more with, that. How long did you have to speak?
10 minutes. Spoke 10 minutes. And
man, I could talk 10 minutes on any subject that random.
Well, I'll say this. I had to memorize a 10-minute script, a speech, and memorizing that, on top of the fact that I have really bad anxiety. Oh my gosh. And I'm speaking to 100 to 150 people in attendance. And I remember, and it's like, I did it. And it's just like, I remember, I don't know if, I think Simon Dean probably had this. I could be mistaken, but I had like an earpiece, like, those little earpiece microphones. Yeah. I would speak, as I would start talking, you would hear like an echo. And I'm thinking to myself, like, oh my gosh, get off the stage, get off the stage, get off the stage. This is not for me. This is not for me. I am not qualified. I am scared out of my mind. But then I just trusted my gut. I'm like, let's just do this. Let's do this. I'll never get this chance ever again. And 100 people applied and only 6 people got selected.
That's cool.
Like,
that's awesome. Well, your story that you have to tell so where were your parents from?
Ethiopia.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I just did my because I never knew my genealogical background, and we just did a video on it. I did the My Heritage and everything because I never knew my birth father, never knew anything about him. And if come to find out, I'm from the western, central to western Africa. That's where his background was from too.
Really?
I mean, I'd always assumed I was half black, but I didn't know. I didn't know if it was that or Latin American or Spanish or what. So, well, let me ask you: when you were done, the moment that your talk was over with and the people were applauding, was that not the greatest feeling and sense of accomplishment ever? Did that feel better than anything?
I felt all that weight come off my shoulders because everybody was applauding me, and even during my speech, people were like, "Ooh." And then there was like, my speech was kind of emotional in certain parts. People were like, oh my gosh, like, wow, I can't believe this, this happened to this poor kid. It's like, it's amazing because,
Is your TED Talk on your channel?
It's on YouTube. TED Talk.
I will check it out.
I appreciate it. I can,
I'm usually up in the mornings around in between, because I take my dogs out at 6, so I'm usually up between 5 and 5:30, and that's when I try to catch up. Like, I'll watch a lot of Stevie Richards videos then.
I'll try
to catch up with stuff. So I will I'll check it out tomorrow morning. I look forward to it.
Thank you, Maven. Thank you.
Think of the things that you can do now that you're gonna have more confidence going into it. That's awesome.
I appreciate it. And it's still, I just talked about it on my my Instagram literally last night. I told myself it's been 3 months since I did my TED Talk and it still doesn't feel real.
Now I want to do one.
It's crazy. And, as a kid who has always loved professional wrestling helped give me my confidence.
Good.
It's, seeing wrestlers talk to 10s, 20, 80, 90,000 people in attendance. Like, as a kid, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. I mean, it's terrifying. I can't imagine being a wrestler doing that, but still, it must be pretty cool, and you had that opportunity throughout your time in WWE, speaking to thousands and thousands of people in attendance.
I was terrified right before my music would go out. I was terrified every time. I always remember that I used to have to pee, and I would literally go to pee, and 5 minutes right before I would go out. And then 3 minutes later, I'd be standing up there getting ready to go out, and I would have to pee again. And that was just nerves. And still to this day, I get nervous before I go out. And but that just means you care. All that means is you care. The day you don't get nervous, the day I don't get nervous anymore, I'm not meant to do it. Because I don't care how I'm doing. And I don't want to put that out as a product. I'm happy you did. I'm happy we got this friendship, and I hope that we're able to do something like this again. And make sure you leave this part in this interview too.
You know, at the time of this recording, you're about to almost hit 300,000 subscribers. I'm thinking to myself,
what? But you know what? To get to 300,000, at one point I had 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't get to 300,000 without having 4 first.
It's just, I mean, yeah, this is just the start.
You never know where. Now you have 5 subscribers, by the way. You never know where this 5 subscriber channel could go to. You don't know how many people your story might reach.
Yeah,
and you don't know. I could be one of the first people in your channel of. You might be a 10 million channel one day, and then people going back and looking up all of your stuff, and they'll be like, "Oh, he interviewed Maven first. Who was that guy again?"
2001 through 2005. I know the interview is, really coming to a close, but my last question: how long did it take you to memorize that entire sentence?
2001 through 2005. We were playing around with the ways to do an intro, and here's one of the things that to any YouTuber out there who wants success: get into your videos quick and get out of them quick. Now, what do I mean by that? Don't have a lot, and I see a lot of people that have intros or music or fluff. There's too much competition out there. Like that, like literally a 5-second musical clip or whatever, that might be the reason that someone scrolls. And you just people's attention span is about this thick. You want to get into what you're going. I try to do an intro where I accomplish 2 things. One, to any new viewer, because there's always going to be someone new. There's always going to be someone who has no clue of who I am. I want to give a quick introduction of who I am. And B, 2, I want to quickly get into what the video is going to be about. Within 10 seconds of our videos, you know what today's video is going to be about. And I don't give you enough time to scroll out. And the same at the very end, I literally, as quickly as I get into them, I get out of them. And that helps the algorithm. If YouTube sees that people are watching 99% of your videos, then that tells YouTube, oh, this is good. We need to pump this to more people.
Yeah. I mean, you also said before in a couple of other interviews that you said that your partner wants to wake YouTube up. That's the thing.
Exactly how he told me.
Yeah.
Because we put a video out, and I remember it had 541 views, and I thought that was a lot. And he was like, "No, I'll tell you when we wake YouTube up."
And look where you are now.
Well,
300,000 subscribers.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the bottom to drop out. We'll see.
Maven, thank you so much.
My pleasure, Daniel.
Of course. And before we sign off, where can people find you? Instagram,
absolutely.
YouTube.
Well, YouTube and Instagram are the only 2 social media things I have, and I actually use Instagram to funnel people right over to my YouTube. So, but the name's the same on both, Maven K Huffman. So, but if you type in Maven Huffman, then it will on YouTube. You'll see. You will see the picture. You'll see the profile, and you will know exactly. There we go. That's what it looks like. Let me get the angle right. Where is it?
I think you got to turn your brightness down a little bit. That's just what
my brightness too. Look at you. Never hurts to learn. Well, there we go.
Maybe
just trust me. Type in Maven Huffman, and you will find it. We put a new video out every Friday. This year we're going to start doing some new things. With our one of the things I'm most proud of is we do lives, and I have found that doing a live you know, my partner, he told me during our first live, he's like, he prepared me. He's like, now listen, we do good numbers on our videos, but the lives, you know, be prepared for only have like maybe a couple hundred people watching. So I was like, okay, no problem. Well, the first live, I think we had like 1,500 people watching. And each time it successfully has went up to where the last live we did, we had 5,300 people watching. And for a live, that's a lot of people to be watching you. And it's just me talking. It's no editing to it. It's just, it's, you know, and he is there feeding me questions. And what I'm proudest of that is we were, you know, going over the Vince McMahon allegations, and you know, we said going into it, because every live we've had people donate money to us, and I want to be that. I want to do good with what I'm been given. So I said with our third live, I was like, anybody that donates to us, we're gonna spend half of the donations on a cause. The first one we did was St. Jude's, where we just got the money in for the second one, which we're going to do Wounded Warriors. And the third one that we did last week, we raised, you know, $2,500, and it's going to a woman's shelter. And nothing touches my heart more than knowing that we're able to do some good in the world. Like, it means so much to me.
You know, I really appreciate, the contributions that, you know, you're making for this, really, Maven. And once again, thank you for coming on. Seriously.
Dude, I told you, we were going for 15 minutes, and there's an hour for you. How's that? Best of luck, Daniel. Thank you for having me on. And yeah, we'll do it again sometime.
Of course. Thank you, Maven.
We'll do it when you have 10 followers.
I'll try. Thank you, Maven.